Steam me aboard. Energize. Energize.
Kirk to transporter room. Report.
Listening to Transporter Room 3 with your hosts Phil Perello and Scott Calora.
Welcome back to another fine installment of Transporter Room 3. I'm Phil Perello, and with me as always,
Scott Calora. Here I am at your service.
Phil and Scott. Scott and Phil. The Tango and Cash of Star Trek podcasts. What's happening, Scott?
Do we have the homoeroticism of Tango and Cash going on?
Only if you want it to. How much of it depends on you, Scott. Just saying.
So listen, we had suggested the idea of doing a sort of Deep Space Nine primer. Where
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, where we talk about kind of like how can you get into Deep Space Nine and get to the good stuff? Because
for sure.
As with all the Star Trek shows, with the exception of the original, it can be a little tough to get into things in the beginning. And Deep Space Nine really didn't kick into its Dominion story thread, which was its main kind of trajectory in the later seasons. It didn't get there till around season 3, and didn't start to get into the serialized storytelling until even after that a bit. So
right.
So sometimes I think newcomers to Deep Space Nine don't understand why people like us always go on about how good it is. And I think it's because
they've watched the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, they get stuck in the first 2 seasons maybe, which the first 2 seasons have plenty of good things going on, but there's also stuff that can slow you down, and there's a lot of the stuff that they hear about that's so great about Deep Space Nine is just not even there in the first, and especially in the first season. So
unlike another Star Trek spinoff who had a troubling first 2 seasons, Deep Space Nine never feels like the show is about to reset.
Right.
Every time out of the gate. Voyager.
Blowjob.
Excuse me.
So we're gonna. We asked you guys if you were interested, and a lot of people, and by a lot I mean 3 people responded.
I think there were at least 5, dude.
People seem to be interested in the idea of kind of a primer. Well, what can you watch? What can you skip? How to get into Deep Space Nine. So let's just do it because we don't want this to be like a 2-hour-long podcast.
Yeah, basically these are those notes you would buy before a big biology final at school. Like when you're in that auditorium with 800 other students and you don't feel like reading the book. This is when you go to the place and you buy those notes on red-colored paper that everyone tells you if you study. You'll get an A, but you end up with somewhere around a B-, C+.
Well, that might have to do with the fact that. Well, that might have to do with the fact that you were watching Deep Space Nine instead of studying, also, right?
Yeah, I was sleeping in because my biology class was at 8 a.m. I think I went twice. It was a good time.
All right, so
this is the sexier version of that, with Scott and I doing the Barry White vocals.
Was it exobiology or just biology?
Ooh, it was xenobiology.
Xenobiology, sorry. All right.
But there were no Orion green skin colored chicks to bang for this guy. I could not mouth breathe under their beds.
Is there a rumor that did I hear a rumor that Kirk is getting it on with another alien species?
Oh, I think he's getting on with 2 alien species, the cat chicks from Star Trek V.
Oh, with a pair of cat chicks?
I believe so.
Okay, yeah, that's what I heard. All right, well,
and that's fine. I mean, Kirk needs to get his swerve on,
What I want to know is if he gets them pregnant, do they have a litter?
Boom. Nerd.
Here we go.
So real quick recaps.
Deep Space Nine. Season 1's pretty easy, right?
Season 1's very easy. There's 3 must-see episodes. 1, the pilot Emissary.
Obviously, which we've talked about I think
length.
we've talked about at length previously. So obviously it's the pilot. It introduces everyone. It's got loads of exposition to explain.
Loads of exposition, lots of characters yelling as they search for their characters.
Yeah. But it's also you get the chance to see the Battle of Wolf 359, which has really only been discussed.
Right.
Is that the only time you see Wolf 359 on screen?
I believe so.
So you get to see some of that, and it's also
great opening.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I think that's obviously a must, right?
Definitely. I mean, after that teaser, which is amazing, setting up Sisko and the loss of his wife and all that, like, it's just great. The episode tone shifts a bit once Picard leaves DS9.
Yeah.
And that's a great scene between Sisko and Picard.
Yeah.
And then it kind of gets a little caretakery with the whole, hey, the wormhole aliens. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm on a scary storm world. You're on a beautiful botanical garden. What's going on?
And I have a ponytail.
And I have a ponytail.
Starfleet regulation ponytail.
Yeah, that's Dax. Bajir is a little jumpy.
I was talking about Sisko's ponytail.
Oh, yeah. Well, and he shaves his head and just keeps a ponytail. He's like Chang.
What about Bashir? Were you saying something about Bashir?
Bashir is a little, they're still trying to figure him out, and it's very interesting when you watch him in this episode and see how he comes out at the end of the series. It's a complete 360, which is a great arc.
Yeah, but it makes sense. It actually makes sense.
It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Kira, she thinks with her nerve endings, and as a result, yells a lot.
Yeah.
So enjoy that. And we get to meet Dukat. We get a good look at the station. It's small weapons array, and it's just watch it. It's good.
Yeah, and it lays the groundwork for some like the Bajoran religious stuff, which will become a huge part of things.
Right.
The obviously the wormhole itself, and just really sets up the whole idea of it being a different kind of show. I mean, you've got your main character is this guy who doesn't even want to be there, right? So, so yeah, you have to see Emissary. That's episode 1 and 2, I suppose. It was a 2-part episode, right?
Right.
So then you can, if you please, jump all the way ahead to episode 19.
Duet,
yeah.
Which we've also talked about. It's like the Nuremberg trials, but on Deep Space Nine, and it's basically a two-hander between Kira and a war criminal, a Cardassian war criminal.
Who is it?
Who may or may not be who he claims to be.
Gulmadred or something? Is that his name?
Goldarheel.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Goldarheel.
I'm sorry. Can we delete that?
It's okay. It's okay.
Who's Gulmadred? Did I make that up?
No. He comes in another episode, I believe.
Okay.
But yes, you're right. The gulls are so hard to keep up with. Just Dukat. Duet is just amazing. Watch it. Stop listening to us and watch it right now if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
If you appreciate drama in any way, shape, or form, this episode will melt your brain.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
And then
I have to just interject here to save face.
Ahead.
The reason I was thinking it was Gulmadred is the guy's name is, he sort of has multiple names, right? So his name is
Maritza.
One of his name is Maritza. So I think that's what was confusing me. So
now we got all that out of our system.
But yeah, you need to see that's one of the greatest Star Trek episodes
ever,
hands down, right? So
yeah, one of the greatest
for sure. Then the season finale also you need to see, which is In the Hands of the Prophets, which I think is the first time we meet Vedic Wynn, right? Mm-hmm. Who is the Louise Fletcher, best known as Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and
perfect villain in this show.
Similar sort of character, right? the episode really, it's just so appropriate to just modern times in America in terms of like the theme of it all. She is upset that the Keiko O'Brien is a school teacher on the station, and she's teaching the kids about the wormhole aliens, the aliens who live in the wormhole. She's teaching them science. And Kai Wynn, who is this religious figure from Bajor, she shows up and she says, wait a second, they're not wormhole aliens. They're our gods. They're the prophets. Why are you teaching them that they're wormhole aliens? They're gods. This is our religion. So it's this whole religion. And
right, and they try to shut down the school, and some violent religious protesting goes down. Yeah,
and O'Brien has a nice little side arc there, Chief O'Brien, and it's just great. It's kind of in a lot of ways it's an understated season finale when you compare it to some of the stuff that happened on like Next Generation or Voyager or later episodes of Deep Space Nine in terms of spaceship battles and all that kind of thing. It's not really about that. It's more just sort of this drama, but it's definitely a great one. So then that's it for season 1 in terms of things you absolutely need to see, I would say, right?
And if you're brave or feeling tipsy, check out Move Along Home.
Which we've talked about in the past as well.
At length. Alan Moraine, bitches. So what In the Hands of the Prophets lacks in terms of action, the top of season 2 makes up for 3 times.
Yeah.
As we're greeted to the first Star Trek 3-parter.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, I
involving,
think so.
Involving an extremist group of Bajoran political figures, or a faction of Bajorans called the Circle.
Right.
And season 2, 3-parter starts off this. The season premiere of The Homecoming, episode 2, The Circle, and then episode 3, The Siege. Holy shit. I have fond memories of acting this episode out in my room as a kid. Like pretending, because it's awesome. It starts out being this political coup that results in the station the first time the station's evacuated, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Or one of the first times, one of the earliest times where the station's evacuated.
I think it's the first.
And Sisko, basically Bajoran military are taking over the station, and Sisko refuses to let them.
Right.
And so him and the skeleton crew kind of go dieharding around Deep Space Nine,
right,
trying to buy time for a Bajoran prisoner of war turned hero, Lee Nollis, to surface and unite the Bajoran people.
Right.
And put down Frank Langella's Minister Jaro, who's trying to make some political power plays that could upend Bajor as we know it.
Yeah, so you have Frank Langella on Deep Space Nine, first of all,
just
right?
Awesome. Yeah.
And Richard Beimer, I think, is the actor's name, who plays
the guy who was supposed to play Picard.
Was he supposed to play Picard, really?
That's the rumor. That's the thing. Yeah, he was up for it and he turned it down.
Okay. So he and he was, of course, Ben Horne on Twin Peaks as well, Benjamin Horne.
Right, and he's the dad from Monster Squad.
Okay, right. So
I believe
he's he's a great character. Well, and he's also in West Side Story, if we want to keep going.
Let's do it. No.
But he's here's the thing. We don't want to spoil these episodes too much in this discussion because we're trying to get people to go watch them, I guess. But he's a fascinating character also. And it's great. It's a 3-part episode. Each episode kind of can sort of work on its own, sort of, but they're each strong episodes, I would say. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a great intro to season 3, and
it's action packed too. I mean, the Circle and the Siege have some great moments.
Yeah. And again, stuff is happening here that you wouldn't see on other Star Trek shows.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, like it's very unique fingerprints are set up.
Yep.
In season 2. Like, it just continue to remind you, whoa, this is not the Trek I'm used to.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. So just be patient with the show. I mean, if anything, like, give it patience, because these people obviously work really hard, and while it's not the greatest of first 2 seasons, it's a very bold, ambitious 2 seasons.
Yeah, for sure.
So then you can skip all the way down to episode 5.
Yeah. Wait, hold on a second. Okay, Cardassians?
Cardassians.
Okay.
Episode 25 of season 2, of the entire series, but episode 5 of season 2. It's our first episode, really, where, Garak and Bashir work together. It's just like, this isn't the first time we're meeting Garak, but this is like the first time Bashir and him really get to do something.
Right.
And they're trying to figure out the identity of a Cardassian boy who's been raised on Bajor.
Right.
And they uncover a plot that points to Gul Dukat trying to end the political career of a key Bajoran figure.
Gul Dukat, always causing trouble.
Yeah, basically, this sets up the Dukat-Garak rivalry. It deepens the mystery on who is Garak, and it just drives the bond between Bashir and Garak. And you're going to see how they get in trouble and have fun with that as the show continues. It's one of the most rewarding parts of the series.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But you have 2 bromances, right?
Right, O'Brien and Bashir.
O'Brien and Bashir, and Garak and Bashir as well.
There's got to be some 3-way fan fiction out there. You know what I mean? Or where Garak does the neck trick for Bashir and O'Brien.
Okay, so then you skip ahead 2 more episodes, or skip over 2 episodes and go to Necessary Evil, which is the 8th episode of the 2nd season, which is the we've talked about this one as well in the past, which is Odo is investigating a long unsolved murder mystery case, I guess.
Right, with ties to Kira's past.
Ties to Kira's past, and so it involves flashbacks to Kira and Odo when they first met, and back when the station was still under Cardassian dominion, for lack of a better term.
Right.
And it was when it was still Terok Nor, and it was a much different place. And it's like a film noir episode of Deep Space Nine in a lot of ways.
Very damn good one.
Yeah, it's great. It's another really, really strong standalone
great
episode.
Ending.
Yeah, it is.
An ending that you would never get on Next Gen.
No way.
And what is the sequel episode to this, Scott? I can't remember.
I don't remember what it was called, but it's also a good one.
Fuck. This is going to eat at me.
Let's see. I'm going to look it up right now. I'm
looking it up too.
Oh, okay. It's a quasi-sequel episode where it's again a flashback to their time on Terok Nor, right?
Right.
I'm
unable to find the sequel.
Although that's
Things Past.
Things Past. That's right.
From season 5.
That's a dark. That's a dark episode.
Good God.
Things Past. Yeah.
Yeah, a dark mistake Odo made.
Yeah, for sure.
That's some dark shit. So watch Necessary Evil, and then action starts to lighten up a bit when you get to the 13th episode of the season, Armageddon Game. Which is it's Die Hard in a bio facility, basically, with O'Brien and Bashir.
Not to be confused with Starship Mine, which is Die Hard on the Enterprise for Picard.
Right. There's another thing we should do, like the best Die Hard on a whatever Star Trek episode. Armageddon Game is cool. Bashir, with O'Brien's help, agrees to help 2 warring races eradicate their supply of a deadly biological weapon.
Right.
But once they complete their mission, one of the warring races decides to kill O'Brien and Bashir because they can't let them leave knowing how to make the thing they just destroyed.
Right. Yeah.
So we get into a cool little cat and mouse game there as O'Brien and Bashir struggle to survive. And I think at one point, one of them gets infected with the bioweapon.
Right.
And like it splashes on O'Brien's arm, I believe.
Yeah.
Or Bashir's arm. I can't remember.
Something like that, yeah.
And, Sisko is trying to struggle for their release and rescue while these two guys were struggling not to get killed by these warring aliens.
Yeah. So it's another
fun factor. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
Oh, it's another bonding moment for those two guys as well, right?
It's a good time. And then the good times continue, segue, into Whispers, which is, this might be one of the earliest keep effing with O'Brien episodes. Because O'Brien, it's like a thing that the writers have discussed before, that they just love upending O'Brien's entire existence, like just ruining his day.
And he's just such a good bloke. He just rolls with it, right? Like,
right.
Oh, you want to put me in a mental prison for 80 years? I can. All right. I'll have the memories of having been in solitary confinement for 8 years, and I'll deal with that in an emotional and
terrible way.
terrible way. He's like the Chekhov. I always felt Chekhov always got the shit end of the
stick. He did.
And Geordi. I felt like it was Chekhov, Geordi, and O'Brien. Those were the three in the. I'm not sure if there was one on Voyager or not, or Enterprise, but those guys were always getting electrocuted. They were getting like
that he eeled, turned into Manchurian candidates.
Yeah, fall off the deck of a ship and break your neck.
Right.
So, and so then this one, what is this one? Refresh my memory. This is O'Brien
returns. O'Brien's back on the station. And, he suspects the crew and his wife and everyone, they're hiding information from him and giving orders behind his back.
Right.
And he doesn't understand.
There's a conspiracy.
It's not O'Brien. He suspects there's a conspiracy, but in reality, it's...
Wait. Hold on. Do we want to spoil it?
O'Brien is not who you think he is.
Okay.
And that's it. That's it. That's all you're going to get.
Someone is not who he thinks he is, who we think he is.
Right.
But yeah, it's a real paranoid kind of thing, and it's riffing on a classic Star Trek storyline staple as well, of those around you being taken over by some other force or something.
Right.
So okay, after Whispers, I think probably
you go right to Blood Oath, baby. Episode 19. This episode is vastly underrated in the DS9 canon.
I don't think it's underrated. I think it's great.
No, but I don't think... I think it's great too, but I just don't think it gets the attention it deserves.
Yeah, it doesn't. And you're talking... I guess you're right. You're talking about having like very specific memories of watching some of these episodes. And I can remember watching this one... like, I guess I was just out of college. I was in like my first apartment in Brooklyn with my roommate who wasn't like a big Star Trek fan, but this was like an episode that anyone could watch and get into.
Right.
It was just a great standalone episode. It's got great action, and so it brings back three of the original series actors who were Klingons.
Koloth and King.
Yeah, and it's the actual actors who played them, and they go on, and it turns out, of course, that they're good old friends of Dax, right? Dax's, because Curzon Dax used to be tight with them, and they had made this blood oath years earlier to find the albino who was
killed their firstborn.
Yeah, and they finally have located him, and they go on this mission for this mission of revenge, and it's just great, and it's got some good action, right? It's a good sword play, some
great action, some great dialogue,
and each of the Klingons is given his own sort of personality that wasn't necessarily there when we first knew them in the old show.
Right,
either.
Koloth has become like a drunk.
Yep.
Who is, he's drinking because that's easier than trying to get back to his former glory.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a great scene where it's the structure of this episode is brilliant. Whereas these Klingons, they come to the station, they're ready to go out for this albino, and Jadzia's like, wait a minute, one of your firstborn was Curzon's godson. and I made the oath. Even though Curzon's not here, I am. But they won't let her play in their reindeer games.
Right.
So she has to work her way to honor the oath. And they finally agree. And then she has to persuade the Klingons to go into the oath. She has to convince Koloth to get going.
Right. Yeah.
And there's this great scene at the bar between the two of them in Quark's bar, and they eventually get together, and when they go after the albino, you just want that pale-faced bastard to die. And what an awesome name for your villain, the albino. It's so mythic. It's great. I want to steal everything from this episode and do something with it.
I think they were riffing on Foul Play, if anyone's ever seen the Chevy Chase Goldie Hawn movie. That's probably before your time, film.
Well, I remember it. I just never watched it.
Oh, okay.
Mostly because Goldie Hawn annoys me.
See, that was when I was I don't know, 8 years old or something. That was the funniest movie I'd ever seen. All right, so and you know what? And also, Blood Oath has a great sort of final. I don't think it's actually the last moment of the episode, but it has a great closing moment in the final battle scene anyway, without giving it away. It's just a really kind of poetic moment.
Give it away, Scott, because I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't want to give it away. I'll tell you afterwards.
You can tell me off camera.
Yeah.
As they say.
Okay.
And then after Blood Oath, you got a straight run of 6 solid episodes.
Yeah.
You got the great two-parter to the Maquis, which brings the Maquis as villains to the forefront. And one of Sisko's personal friends, close friends, Cal, captain in the Federation, turns out to be a member of the Maquis.
Is it Cal Hudson? Cal
Hudson.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You get to see runabouts versus Maquis raiders.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then we go to one of Scott's favorite episodes, Crossover, DS9's first trip to the Mirror Universe.
And I got tired of the it became an annual kind of thing where they went to the Mirror Universe all the time on Deep Space Nine, which sort of I got tired of it eventually. But this is a great one.
Peter Allen Fields, bitches, and Michael Piller.
Yeah, it's a great one.
Great writers. Yeah. I enjoyed Deep Space Nine's trips to the Mirror Universe. The one when they find Mirror Jennifer, come on, man.
Yeah, that was good. I think that was the second time around, right?
Second or third.
Because in this one, it's not even Sisko who makes the trip, right? It's Kira and
Bashir.
Kira and Bashir. Okay, right. So,
Odo gets exploded.
Yes, it turns out he's just a big balloon full of Vaseline or something.
Through Vaseline and jelly-filled condoms.
Yeah.
Speaking of jelly-filled condoms, the Collaborator does not have one jelly-filled condom.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure, but it has some great Vedic Wynn versus Kira Cardassian intrigue.
Yeah. It's
a good episode.
Yeah, so it's you're getting into not so much the religion stuff of Bajor as much as the politics of Bajor, because the religion and the government are sort of intertwined, right?
Right.
So this is more political machinations and things going on, and it's in this sort of a connection to the past. Once again, they're referencing the recent history of Bajor and what some sort of scandalous stuff that has gone on there, and it's interesting seeing how Kira has to interact with someone like Vedic Wynn, who is really her superior, and she's just a sort of military officer. And even though she can't stand her, she has to kind of play by the rules when dealing with her. And Vedic Bareil, who's Kira's lover, I guess, he figures into it as well. I always felt that character was sort of squandered. I felt like they could have done more with him.
Some short shrift was given, yeah.
Yeah, but at this juncture, he was still, but he was he was pretty interesting here anyway. So that's definitely another good one. So that you can see now that, I mean, we're talking about the last last 8 episodes of season 2. We're saying you need to watch, right? So
right.
Tribunal is the penultimate episode of the season, and once again O'Brien is having some issues, right? He's
once again he's getting effed, if you will.
He's put on trial, right?
He's put on trial on a Cardassian court, and you're guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
And it's a fun episode. It's a solid show.
This directed by Avery Brooks, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and featuring a dude with a mustache.
Featuring me.
A dude with a mustache, which isn't something you see too often in the Star Trek universe. And then the season finale, which is so awesome, the Jem'Hadar, which is your real introduction to. We'd heard mention of the Dominion here or there, right?
Right.
Other sort of alien races would talk about the Dominion or even be members of the Dominion, but we hadn't really met them and didn't really know too much about them up until this point. And then the season 2 finale, it starts off with Sisko, Jake, Ben, and Quark and Nog all go on like a field trip, sort of vacation, right, in the Gamma Quadrant. Yes. And it all goes horribly wrong, where they have a run-in with what turns out to be the Dominion. Well, again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but it culminates in a pretty spectacular bit of outer space action involving a Galaxy-class starship. And
a Jem'Hadar ship.
Yeah. And
the stakes are incredibly raised, and the world of Deep Space Nine is irrevocably changed.
Yes. And and even though the episode is a standalone episode that ends, it has an ending. It is also such a total cliffhanger for what is to come, right, in season 3 and beyond. It's really kind of a balls to the wall sort of holy shit, what's going on, especially back then when we didn't know what was coming quite yet, with this whole Dominion thing. So there you go. That's a kind of a real quick down and dirty primer to the first 2 seasons of Deep Space Nine. I would just ask you real quick, Phil, if you were to name one guilty pleasure from those first 2 seasons that we didn't name, that you couldn't really say are necessarily good episodes, but something that you go back to anyway, or that you've enjoyed.
Well, clearly,
you're a big fan of the Storyteller episode.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Storyteller, which, as Scott describes, is O'Brien tries to talk nice to a gas cloud, a god shaped, a gas cloud in the form of a god. I don't know, man. I there's no episode where Quark cross-dresses, so I can't.
That's your particular forte, isn't it?
That's my niche. I was gonna say, but I don't think it's in season 1 and 2. It's in season 3. So this completely is not an answer to your question.
What's it? What is that? Which one?
Visionary.
Oh yeah.
Where O'Brien is able to jump 5 hours into the future.
Is that the one? Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
That's pretty cool. But if I had a guilty pleasure, I'm going with Captive Pursuit from season 1.
Okay, right.
Because it's not bad. It's not great, but there's a lot of good in it. It's basically there's an alien race that breeds a certain species on the other side of the wormhole, whose sole purpose is to be hunted. And this alien has like predator cloaking technology.
Right.
Like it can biologically cloak itself.
Right. And
shows up on the station, befriends O'Brien, and O'Brien puts himself between it and the things hunting it.
Right, yeah.
Which ruffles some of Sisko's feathers.
Yeah. Yeah, the makeup job on that alien is really amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's this reptilian full body thing, and it's well done, Star Trek.
Yeah, I would go with for guilty pleasure, dramatis personae, if that's how you pronounce it. That's
Sisko be making clocks, yo.
Yeah, so season 1 episode. What is it? How did you put it? They're
telepathic pathogen, as it's described. A disease of the telepathy. Basically, a Klingon warship comes out of the wormhole, it explodes, and this glitter dust thing goes onto the ship. Infects the station, and forces our people to be infected telepathically by psyches of some people who are at each other's throats.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if they were an ancient race or what it was, but
I can't.
So it turns into basically sort of a rebellion is forming, with Kira kind of mutinying against Sisko, and what I liked about it back in the day was that it sort of felt like what you thought Deep Space Nine could have been in those early days, which is that the Bajorans and the Federation really wouldn't get along. And of course, ultimately that wasn't really the way the show was going to play out. But here you kind of got a taste of it anyway, as they wind up fighting for control of the station.
Right.
And it's Avery Brooks just offering a very peculiar performance as possessed Sisko. Just got all these weird hand motions that he does, and yeah, he likes to build clocks in his spare time.
Yeah, just for your own edification, people, should a friend of yours start to look a little devious, and they just start randomly building future clocks, they're gunning for you.
Future clocks.
If they're building future clocks, horizontal desk paperweight size things, something's wrong. They've been telepathically infected by some weird shit. So they're either going to try to kill you, or you got to try to save them. Either way, just be on the lookout for future clocks.
Speaking of, I don't have any kind of segue there at all.
It's okay. We started this podcast with great segues. It's appropriate that we end with a lack of them.
I was somehow going to tie in future clock to, I don't know, I totally lost it.
Well, there's someone whose future clock has run up.
There you go. See,
and that is the red shirt of the week. Dun, dun.
We take this time to remember those who have laid their lives down for Starfleet. This is the red shirt of the week.
This week's red shirt is a DS9 character who's seen very briefly in the pilot. The captain of the Saratoga.
Yeah.
Played by the actor who would later play Martok.
Right, yeah.
Now, we know he's a captain, and it's a bit of a whatever red shirt, but his death, the Saratoga gets hit pretty damn hard, and I think he goes up in a fountain of white-out sparks.
Yeah.
He's dead. Dead ski. And his death prompts Sisko to go try to save Jennifer. And if he didn't die, we would never have gotten the classic emissary line, "I can't just leave her here. No." Watch that episode, and I defy you to tell me that my impersonation of that line reading is off.
Oh, it's perfect. What is the captain? What is the captain's final words? I think
he's giving orders.
Yeah, he's giving some kind of order about the shields or something. Order. Right.
Yeah. Let me. Shit, I can't find it. But,
so it was a cool notion back then too, though. Like the idea, seeing the captain get killed.
That's right.
Sisko was just the XO, right? And
I think his orders, Scott, are full reverse, maintain, and then huge explosion on the bridge.
What does it say it
obliterates our
again?
view, and when it clears, there's smoke and fire and massive damage.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I like how also Sisko has like that bowl. It's a Bolian, right?
It's a Bolian. Yeah.
Bolian is
The tactical officer.
Yeah, he's kind of comes across almost like their version of Data, even though he's not a superhuman android or anything, but he's like sort of like always there to help, like to kind of lend a helping hand, and he doesn't have his own concerns. He's going to worry about your shit at this time of need, and
that's right.
It was cool seeing another ship like that as well for the brief time that we saw it, and of course he would spiritually be resurrected. He was a Vulcan captain who would spiritually be resurrected as a Klingon general on Deep Space Nine years later. So,
and I believe, Scott, we also see the captain again through one of Sisko's trips through the orb.
Yeah, you're right. He's the wormhole aliens.
The wormhole aliens.
Yeah. Well, wait. They may be wormhole aliens to you, but they're prophets to me.
Scott, this is where we draw a line. This is why we can't have nice things.
Now, if you guys take our season 1 and 2 Deep Space Nine primer to heart, you will be able to participate in such geeky, nerdy in-jokes.
Yeah, if you have girlfriends and wives, you won't have them for long. That's the gift we give you.
All right, so
freedom.
I guess that's going to kind of wrap it up for us.
That wraps it up, Scott. Thank you for participating in a fun Cliff's Notes session of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. Now you guys better actually use it and watch it. Make it happen. Yeah,
let us know what you think. Do you agree with our picks? Do you disagree? And keep us posted if you're trying to get new friends into the show, or if you yourself are trying to re-engage it.
Yeah.
So until the next podcast, we'll see you on Gravette Island.